So another thing you might want to consider is, and this is a bit obvious because like cockroaches, calendars have been around since almost the dawn of time, and like cockroaches, they'll be there at the end of time as well. Create a master calendar. Know what's ahead of you, don't have surprises. And no last minute jobs. Know what's ahead of you and don't have any last minute. Whilst things are going to change and there will always be, you need to be flexible and last minute disasters will occur, if you are fully booked out and you know that everything you've got to do today is going to take you right up to close of play, and one 15-minute bit of extra work happens, what happens to you? Exactly, you're going to have to either miss something on your deadline or you're going to have to work late. Operating a master calendar will give you room to maneuver, time to maneuver. Is it still working? Okay. Now, when you're doing a master calendar, one of the things you need to really think about first is a do list. Break the do list into different areas. So let's look at breaking it into different areas. You might say work 1 would be projects, and you might say work 2 could be I don't know, department issues, for example. Now, what priority is it? Each one of these is a different item. Priority 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, and 6. Okay, so you've got different priorities, different arrangements for everything else. Okay, ETR. Estimated time required. When is it needed? So 4 days, 1 month, no time. Okay, whenever it is. So 6th of June, 7th of August, 9th, 1st of September. Okay, so these have all got dates of when these things are required. So there's a difference between priority and when it's required. Okay, priority being importance, not when it's required. And I want to make that very clear because often will people give you a priority. So if you have a priority that is more important than, so you've got a really important priority that's got to be delivered in 1 week's time, and you've got a very small priority that needs to be ready tomorrow, which one do you work on first? The one that's got to be ready tomorrow, small priority, or the big priority that's a week later? Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Okay, so what do you do? All right, let's have a show of hands. How many of you think you deal with the small priority that needs to be done first, or the big priority that needs to be done later? Show of hands. That's a split room. That's not much help, is it? Eh? How am I supposed to work with this? Right, so my opinion then, if I give you that, is that the more important aspect is the priority, not the estimated time required. Because if that's low priority, what happens if the low priority one gets done, but the big priority one doesn't? You're late on the big priority. Your boss says, why were you late? Well, I was late because the item that needed doing before was this low priority task, but the high one was later, so I thought I'd better do the one that's due first because, what would he say? What would you say if one of your members of staff said that to you? Imagine a wedding, okay? Getting the wedding dress, is that a higher or lower priority than making sure that the ribbon is with the supplier for the napkins? What's more important? You need to get the ribbon for the supplier a week before the wedding. You need to have the wedding dress ready the day before. So what's the bigger priority? Okay, so the wedding dress is the priority. Priority 1 is the wedding dress. What happens to the wedding if the ribbons for the napkins aren't ready? Okay, the wedding still happens, everyone's still happy, nobody really notices. Agreed? What happens if the wedding dress... Oh, okay. You didn't even let me finish. What happens if the wedding dress isn't ready? No wedding, no husband probably. So when you find that you've got a higher priority, but it's further away than a lower priority, this is where it comes to delegation, speaking to people. Do you delay it? Organising your time so that you get the things done in the right priority. It's really important to think about it, because most people think, oh, that's smaller and probably easier. They do that first, leaving the horrible hard one later. Okay, good. Now in this report that you keep, this note, it's like Duelist, you have the estimated time required, and then you actually complete the actual time required or actual time taken for that job. And over time you can start to build yourself up an understanding or visual awareness of how long it's taking you to do things. Now that's work. You can do this in personal and have long-term plans and projects in your personal life and work life. Short, priority, estimated time required, actual time required. It's all about prioritising the urgency of importance, not when it's needed. Does that make sense? Do what's important first, not what has to be delivered first. Now, you might think, oh, but I've got to explain to people that I'm not going to be able to give them what they want. What you're going to be doing is giving people what they need, what's most important first, and the minor stuff we're going to look at in the 4 Ds, and that's going to come up shortly. But you see what I mean about getting the idea of let's do what's important first? Good, because a lot of people waste a lot of time in their lives doing things that don't matter. And let's be honest, when you finish a project or a task that wasn't that important, how good do you feel? Any of you ever used the phrase, I'm not going to get that hour back? Hopefully you don't say it about my training. You're very kind, thank you. I am here all week, brilliant. Okay, does that all make sense? Super.